My name is Erika Niguera, and I am co-owner of Doña Fina Cafe uh, with my dad. We have a family farm in Guatemala, and he is the farmer. He's there right now in the middle of harvest and on his own with the people that work with him. Um, and we import the beans, the green coffee beans ourselves from Guatemala to Kansas City, and I roast them weekly and get them to market. The idea is to be vertically integrated, to own the whole supply chain from end to end. And once we're really stable and earning money, to be able to talk about inputs and opportunity at market and what that truly looks like without middlemen with their margins and their business plans, to say, here's what it costs us to grow these plants and harvest these beans and bring them to the States and roast them. And here's what we're able to sell them for at market because we've taken care in our process, and it's delicious coffee and people want it. And here's what we've been able to make. You talk about value add. That's what we're looking at right now. And it's just my dad and I, and it's a huge undertaking. I don't know of anyone else doing it this way, and we're learning a lot.
You talk often about being in other people's shoes and understanding how hard it is for your dad. How do we even imagine what it's like being on his land harvesting today?
Well, so each coffee bean is picked by hand. It's not a crop that can be picked via machine. So it takes a human hand. And if you imagine, coffee beans are like, the cherry fruit is about this big, and inside each cherry fruit are two beans. And so you have to pick them by hand. Then they go through, there's various ways to process coffee, and the coffee industry, different corners of the market prize different processes. We put our fruit to wash, and we do 3 sorting processes. So the first is if the fruits float, those fruits get taken aside, and that's not considered like cream of the crop. If they're floating, they're not the best. And then from there, we put the fruits through a depulping machine, and the beans are extracted. And then from there, the beans are dried. And then from there, the beans have to have a parchment, which is an additional film over the beans, removed. And then you'll actually see that parchment during the roasting process as well. So it's a really, it's like the film that protects the seed. So all of that to say, it's a highly labor intensive, mostly manual process. The industry has grown to such that there are machines that will sort beans and take out discolored beans or beans that are too small once they're out of the cherry. But we ourselves on our farm pick each bean by hand. We do 3 pickings each year. An industrial farmed coffee, a lot of times the branch is stripped, whether all the beans are ripe or not. What we do is pick by hand only the beans that are red through the first phase of picking, and then once we've gone through, we have 12,000 trees. Once the 12,000 trees have been picked by hand, we start again and pick only what's red, and then we do it a 3rd time. And through each of those processes, we do the washing, and we don't discard, we set aside the beans that float, the fruits that float. Similarly, once the beans are out of the fruit, we do a second washing, and we set aside the beans that float. Those are the beans that we sell in Guatemala to the coffee market at large at whatever cost. that the commodity market dictates, which is the lowest cost. Coffee is a commodity, gets traded on the stock market, that sets the price. And that's what you can expect as a coffee farmer, to get paid for your labor if that's your only connection. So what my dad and I are trying to do is we reserve the best beans for ourselves, and we bring them here to the States, and I roast them with care each week so that they're very fresh, ensuring that it's good and tastes good, and then we get them to market for as much as we can within reason within the Kansas City market. And that's probably one of our biggest challenges, is determining value. As I try to establish wholesale relationships that would be good for us, that would establish our brand in the Kansas City market and provide some stability for us, trying to be competitive and offer beans at a wholesale rate that is comparative to what other people are doing is very hard, because nothing that we do is comparable to what everyone else is doing. Our why is really for whatever reasons of global politics and luck, or our family owns a title to this land that is a beautiful gift of the earth. Like, to say we own it feels ingenuine, but we do have it to steward. It is our privilege to steward this land. And coffee is everywhere. It's a huge business across the globe, and every coffee business you encounter is based on how little they can pay for the bean. As every coffee shop or coffee business that you admire, and it's not their fault. None of the small business coffee shops that you frequent, which you should, the local roasters, the local coffee shops, are all awesome people trying to do their best. They found something, they're creating community, and at the same time, their business model, more often than not, 99% of the time, is how little can I pay for this bean? It's no one's fault, but this is capitalism and commodity markets. How literally the price of coffee is set by the stock market. It's totally disconnected from what's happening at the source. Our family is very privileged. My father had a college education. He grew up picking beans on the farm with his grandparents. My grandparents were the last to harvest beans, roast them, and sell them at market in Guatemala. It stopped being profitable. It didn't support our family for a long time, and as happens with many family farm businesses, my dad went to university, moved abroad, met my mom. So we're privileged in many ways that my father had a career in engineering here in the United States, has a pension, doesn't rely on the income from our farm to support what we're doing. The last time anybody harvested our beans with the intent to make any profit, meaning we have our trees for over 100 years. For many generations, our family just sold them to the highest bidder based on whatever the market offered them. And because I have a background in community development, I'm a nonprofit professional, I have an MBA, I grew up with the romance of owning a coffee farm. I fell in love with coffee shops in college. The ideology of like intellectualism, being born in coffee shops, inspired me as a teen, as a college student. So there's many things. During the pandemic, I made a choice to step away from my career to make a little more time for family, and that was the moment. It was like this dream, let's do it. We have this beautiful benefit, this land that is under our stewardship for whatever reason. Let's do our best with it. So that's what we're doing. I need we need to earn a return on our family. We need to be able to support the families that work with us. And the broader purpose is to talk about why do we, how do we get so far removed from the source? How do we get so far removed from the value at the source?